Okay, tonight's show, we have a guest who's a big deal. I'm not so sure it should be. I'll explain. Kind of a strange way to start the program, I know. Welcome in My State of Mind. That's why we call it My State of Mind, because sometimes it's a little strange. But I'm honored that you make the choice to listen either tonight or every night, and I hope you continue. So Stephen Alexander is my guest. He's an athletics coach in the Pontiac system. That's Foster, Gloucester, out there, you know, in the hills. And he's transgendered. He used to be Jen, and he scored more than 1,000 points, I guess, when he played high school, class of '96, back in the day. And so he left town and he came back, and he's Stephen now. And I guess it has been a growth process for him to get everybody accustomed to this, and was recently inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame, which is terrific, I think. And we're going to have a conversation with him about it. It's one of those things that makes people uncomfortable for some reason. I think it's interesting, but not uncomfortable. But that's just me. So stay tuned, all right? In the meantime, let's do the rundown thing. It's nice to get away from the politics a little bit, don't you think? So Stephen contacted us and said he was available because we contacted him last year, and we'll tell you all about that. Yeah, just some bad government, man, and just some silly government, man. And then, since I was on a just thing, I just kept writing just 300 million miles to land, and I'm just not ready for the snow. Brief rundown tonight, because I want to spend some quality time with our guests. But let's go to issue number one, Steve. Thank you. Just plain bad government. It just is, man. And that is the fire districts in this state. It is just bad. Here's the front headline. Last night, Bill Harsh, who formerly ran for Attorney General, was hired by the Coventry Fire District to investigate that which Target 12 brought to the table when Tim White kind of nailed the police chief for playing golf on the clock and being at the bar on the clock. All these things are alleged, of course, but they've got the video. And, you know, the smoke and the doobie, and that's a cigar I've got. Oh, yeah? You smoke a cigar like that and hand it to your buddy? I mean, he should have been done last week, 2 weeks ago. But the very careful Coventry Fire District is going to now have its own separate investigation. And I get that. A journalist shouldn't be the judge and jury, but that ought to go. Now we find out he's going to end up going, unfortunately. He was not very smart. And the public trust is kind of violated by that kind of behavior, right? The public trust is also violated by financial problems that Coventry Fire District has. We find out that they are maybe in as deep a pile of you-know-what as the Central Coventry Fire District, which now brings us the next headline, and that is that the Central Coventry Fire District is set to file for bankruptcy, and that has been a long conversation and multiple votes by the ratepayers there about how to govern that district in the lake. And somebody now needs to step in. Maybe it'll be our state rep that we had on the guest spot last night, Bobby Nardolillo, who was elected from Coventry, to advance the cause in the General Assembly to just give Coventry the permission or the mandate, one or the other, to go ahead and create a municipal fire department, which, by the way, ought to be the evolving thing for all towns that have these little fiefdoms known as fire districts. They're nuts. You know, in my own hometown of Cumberland, we're melding as we speak. And listen, I love the idea of decentralized government, but this thing is out of control. You get these little fiefdoms and these little taxing organizations that kind of run their own race, and they answer to nobody, and it just has to stop. So please, in Coventry, everybody ought to be making the momentum to create a municipal fire department and be done with this. Get rid of the bureaucratic deadwood, find a streamlined way to do it, make a reasonable deal with the union, and keep everybody safe. All right, I just solved all that. All right, next one. This is just plain silly government. Did you catch this? Here's the headline. A raucous meeting in the little town of Westminster, Massachusetts. You know, all you got to do is start taking liberties and rights away, and people who are like, when it comes to local municipal government operations, never paying attention, never showing up to a meeting, show up en masse. This was the local health director's brainstorm, her 15 minutes of fame idea that, hey, you know what, why don't we just make tobacco sales completely illegal in this town? Oops.
It was over before it started.
All right, this hearing is closed.
Westminster Elementary was filled to capacity for Wednesday night's Board of Health hearing. But only a handful of the dozens who wanted to speak did. Police escorted board chair Andrea Crete to her car, while hundreds inside stood mystified.
This is inexplicable. I can't even believe it.
And to me, it's just a little town playing big government.
The three-member board will decide in December whether or not to ban all tobacco sales.
They can't do that. We have two different arguments running through the same pipe in this country. Tobacco, by and large, is legal, has been for a long time. It's a major league industry. It's an economic engine, not just for the specific sales of the product, but for peripheral products. And everywhere now, it's illegal to do it. Now, I'm not a smoker. You know that I've never had a cigarette in my life? A couple of cigars every once in a while, but I've never had one in my life, have no interest, and so it's not like I got a habit to protect. But unless and until we want to have a national conversation about this product being illegal across the board, nationally, stop this. This is absolutely outrageous. You know, little local government people who are trying to make a name for themselves in some health magazine somewhere. I hope 800 more show up and shout this Board of Health down. And by the way, when they make that ruling, someone will put a stay on it. It'll go to court, and the court will shut it down. Next item. I get angry about silly government. And since we're on the just thing, just 300 million miles, the Europeans figured out a way to attach this module to a comet that was blazing at 80,000 miles an hour, 300 million miles away. Have you seen this thing? So your question is, how big's a comet? Well, the truth of the matter is the comet's probably not much bigger than, I don't know, my estimate based on the layovers that I've seen, the comet's probably not much bigger than about 10 square blocks in Manhattan. So they nailed this thing at 80,000 miles an hour, 300 million miles away, at a budget of $1.6 billion over 10 years. And I'm guessing very soon all the space conspiracy theorists who say we never went to the moon will be saying, we didn't nail that comet. There's no way. There's no way we nailed that comet. Now they're going to study the comet for, what, 15, 20 years? And hey, space exploration is interesting to me. But I'm trying to figure out what the whole comet thing's all about. Your state of mind, let me know what you think about this. Now, we're going to try to put astronauts on a comet, by the way, because we can't be sitting back letting the Europeans run the show. And I ain't ready. Are you ready? So Tony's probably going to tell us in the news tonight that we're going to get a couple 3 inches tomorrow. There's the forecast. It's only November 14th tomorrow. I'm not ready. But at least it's not the Midwest. Look at the Midwest. Look at Upper Michigan. Remember the Halloween we had like 3 years ago where we had like 18 inches of snow? The good thing was it melted. I played golf 2 weeks later. So our snow tomorrow will just be a temporary warning that winter is coming and it's inevitable. When we come back, your state of mind. Oh, my state of mind. Thank you, Jess. That's 2 nights in a row I did that. Let us know what you think. Your state of You move a segment up, it takes Dan like 3 months to figure out the decision that I made. 228-1886 is the voicemail. Of course, you can email, you can Facebook post. Here's a Facebook post based on our conversation about this Fox story where the guy who killed bin Laden is telling his story. Bill says, yeah, the story was released via Zero Dark 30, and the government did participate in accessing some facts on it. I get that. But you know what? Bottom line is, SEALs don't talk. And now in this world where everyone has to talk, I guess SEALs are talking. I just wonder what SEALs think about a SEAL talking. All right. Our athletics coach, who's got a great story. Yeah. Welcome back in. So a year or so ago, Jess showed me the story, and I said, wow, that's a pretty interesting story. And here was kind of a indication as to what the story was. Transition game. This is about a young man who's gone through a life change, a transgender change, has moved from female to male, and coaches kids. And I'm sure it's created a lot of paranoia. You know? Right?
Not quite, actually. Not in the school. The faculty and the staff have been very friendly, very warm, and yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm coaching boys middle school basketball in another week. So we start with tryouts.
Stephen Alexander, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. It's like interesting, but it's compelling. And if you feel like it's a story that needs to be told, then I think it's worth doing a show or shows about. But I have
Thank
to
you.
tell you, it's like, and I'm not that evolved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
But
appreciate
just-
your
I kinda
honesty
just
in
kinda
that.
go,
We all appreciate the honesty. You know, I think it shouldn't be a big deal either, but still, given the state of where we are today in human history,
Yeah.
still is a big deal because we're fighting for our legal rights, better health care.
our being transgendered people.
Transgender people, I can't speak for all the transgender people in the community, but we are of all races, all ages. Children are also transgender. We exist, and we are becoming more and more confident, but there are a lot of hurdles to what we experience everyday life in terms of just navigating systems.
All right, so the history is you were a hell of a ball player in your younger years.
I used to be, yes.
1,000-point scorer. At the time, you were Jen Dandro. And did you dominate back in the day? Your class of 1996, correct?
We did. Actually, my teammates and I, we dominated. We were the state champions 4 years in a row.
We have some video, not to interrupt, but there's a steal ahead of the field, and Jen lays it in. All right, nicely done. Didn't use the glass. You teach your kids
That
to
was
use the
from
glass,
Steph.
don't you?
Steph Walker.
You're
What's that?
supposed to use the glass, for crying out loud.
We did. I tried to do
I'm
it at
just
the
saying,
time. You got to get the job done.
You're coaching
So that's
middle
all
school
it is.
boys, right?
Yes.
And now you got to use the glass.
Yes,
But anyway,
yeah.
nice play.
Thank you.
So that was you back in the day. And while you were playing, all the way up through that time, you didn't feel like Jen.
No, there's no way. Based on how I experienced the world, I felt like I had to keep a secret. I wanted to play with the guys, but couldn't. But I was still fortunate to have really great teammates, and it was the experience of working together with them in a physical, mental state. I love that stuff, and that, in fact, my love of sports probably exceeded my feelings before crossing over to being Stephen.
Could you have played with the boys back then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can ask anybody that went to my high school. You know, I'd be pretty good. I wouldn't be probably as top tiered, but nonetheless, yeah, I'd be playing with the boys.
So at what point did you say, okay, enough of this? We got to make a move.
It's a process. It's a long process. I think there's a self-identifying coming out process. That didn't happen until I was at Stonehill College. Couldn't fight the feelings anymore. I played on the women's basketball team there. Was fortunate enough to get a scholarship. And then my love of the sport kind of diminished because of the societal, the institutional pressure of existing on a women's basketball team.
When did you first speak about it? I want to say, you know what, I gotta talk about this, and because obviously you had to have some support to help you through.
Yeah.
Your family's been supportive.
What was the family's been supportive. I love my parents, my sister. I have two wonderful. I have a niece and nephew that are the world to me. Just love them. And part of my mission of speaking and coming out is to make sports more acceptable, feel more welcoming to all walks of life, whether they're transgender, lesbian, gay, bisexual, gender nonconforming, we call it.
Right.
It's just to make people feel better and play.
Okay,
because
so
that's what we love to do.
I guess the details. I'd love to listen. We only have a couple of short segments tonight, and I'd love to have you back for a longer conversation,
Okay.
which is something we've done a lot with
Sure.
on the show, so we have a better understanding. But you made the transition. You transed your gender,
I crossed over from being a girl to
and you have been a man for how long now?
2002, so we're looking at since 2002.
All right. You come back, you've got a master's in special education, you're a teacher by trade, and obviously your love of sports and your acumen for it leads you to be a pretty good coach. People want you to coach.
Love it. And in fact, I've been honored really to have parents be able to ask questions. Not the kids, because my job is coaching, but
Right.
coming out with this story was a way in which to share a little bit about, who I am.
You're coaching boys high school soccer, boys middle school basketball, and what else?
Boys middle school baseball. I've done boys tennis. I've done that. So, yeah.
You more comfortable coaching boys or girls?
Either one.
I don't know that
It's
it's a
fine.
gender conversation. We could talk all day. I coached a girls' high school varsity softball team and lost them in 3 weeks.
Really?
Because I coached them like boys.
Gotcha.
They're very different.
They are very different.
My philosophy on that is very simple. Boys develop camaraderie from competition. Girls need camaraderie to compete. What do you think about my theory?
I think it's great. To some extent, I would love to see sports evolve to the point where it's no longer boys and girls, but there's a cohesive teamwork between both. So as sports evolves, maybe we can get more women coaches coaching in the NFL or Major League Baseball or, you know, Major League Soccer. So where I see sports going is to be more inclusive, because true teamwork is when we have different perspectives. It's not just one way of, you know, being super competitive and not being an honor to our competitors as well. So I think if there's a mix, it actually reflects more of what's going on in society.
All right, so with Stephen, we've got like 17 really deep conversations going on
Going
right
on,
here,
isn't it?
none of which we have time to develop, but remember that one. We'll get back to it. But in the meantime, he's been introduced into the Hall of Fame, welcomed into it, but there's one dangling participle here that I think is fascinating. Stay with us.
I was devastated. It was such a shock. We thought, nope, you're just gay. You're gay. We didn't really understand. I had never heard of transgenderism before that.
I think we heard of 1 out of every 10 people was gay in high school, and then we heard that people cross-dress. That was all I knew about anything that was different.
So that's from a documentary, SBNation.com. You can check that out on Stephen's story. If you just tuned in, I can't tell you, I can't go backwards. I have to go forwards. I only have 4.5 minutes to get this segment done. But I will tell you that he's a prominent figure in the Pontiac system. You're a teacher. You're a coach. You're coaching boys, and you 12 years ago were formally through your transgender process from girl to boy, from woman to man. You were a 1,000-point scorer as a girl on the Pontiac high school basketball team, and you just were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
As Stephen.
It's an honor. As Stephen.
Okay. And that, for some reason, was hard for everybody. For some people to figure, everyone wanted to compute how this thing should go, right?
I think everybody in the back of their head is trying to figure out what's the best possible solution. We want to do right by the institution. We want to do right by the individual. So there had to be a couple of conversations, but you know, in the end, they were great. People on the committee understood after the story that it's your choice. We want to honor you for who you say you are, and that to me is a huge, huge breakthrough in our society, in our culture. I think Pontiac took the lead on it.
Is there an asterisk?
No, there's no asterisk.
There's no little parentheses?
There should be.
But he was
nothing,
really
no.
Jen back then.
No.
There's not that going on.
No.
But there's a banner that's up there commemorating your 1,000-point scoring.
Yeah.
And it has your former name on it.
It does. It does. You know, I wrestle with the name every so often when I walk into the gym. Because
Does it bother you?
It bothers me a little. I mean, I have to get past it really quickly because I'm not there to constantly reflect on it. I am there to coach basketball. I actually coach on a recreation team, the girls' league that I grew up in. I'm now a coach in with one of my best friends.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
You're like a coaching machine.
I love life. I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm at, and there's still struggles, you know.
Okay, the million-dollar question aside for a second. Can you embrace your earlier life? Is it so difficult for you, and it was so difficult for you, that you just can't go there anymore?
No, actually, at this stage of life, I'm going back. I signed a book deal with a New York Times bestselling author, Peter Golenbach, and part of the training and the conversations that I've had with some of my very close and dear friends is actually pulling out the stories that I've kind of blacked out on, just because it has been traumatic
I would think a little therapy would be in order in
It
this
is,
whole
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
And I think that's perfectly natural. You want the banner changed? Yes, no?
It's a tough one. I would say yes, just to have it reflect
Have
who
you
I
made a
am.
formal
But I
request?
understand. I have not made a formal request. That's something a student started a petition. It hasn't been finished, and that's okay. You know, I'm not going to be the one to say, "Hey, get this changed."
You know what?
It has to be on the people's.
I got to break it to everybody out there. I don't understand. You induct him into the Hall of Fame as Stephen for the work that he did to score 1,000 points with a banner on the board that says Jen. Change the name, you folks in Ponagansett, and get over it and be done with it.
You know, I mean, it can be looked at as a
And
as a good.
and I know
thing,
that
too.
you would really, because I can see it in your eyes. It means a lot to you, and it hurts a little bit. So change it, right? Ask for it.
Sure.
That's what I would do, but that's your cause, not mine. I just think my opinion would be, come on.
I
man.
appreciate your opinion.
The come on man factor is kind of prevalent here. It's great to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on all the stuff.
I appreciate meeting
All
you.
right, man.
It's been
Absolutely.
great.
Me too. Your state of mind is already done. I have a last thought. That's what we do here. Stay with us. You know, I haven't given it a lot of deep thought, but the reason I say that Stephen's banner ought to be changed is for this. I know that you commemorate on a banner performance, you know, during high school, and then she, Jen. But you keep the banner up for legacy. And his legacy is now Stephen. And guess what? It's no skin off anybody's nose to recognize that. A Hall of Fame decision did. So change the banner and make a guy happy. And he's obviously very happy. And he obviously does well with the kids. So come on. That's my thought. All right, Nellie Gorbea, the new Secretary of State to be tomorrow night. And I'll see you on the radio at noon on WPRO. Good night.